Tacy apologized for arriving earlier than expected. Semple conveyed his guest to the parlor. He opened a bottle of dry sherry that stood on the sideboard, poured Tacy a glass, and sat down across from her. "I hope Miss E.B. is about. My curiosity about her has grown by the hour. She is practicing her art in the kitchen. Don't expect to see her until it comes time to serve the meal." Semple hastened to refill Tacy's empty glass. "My elder daughter, Wrenna, and a friend of hers decided to make a flying visit from the continent, and they will be joining us for dinner. How delightful." Semple excused himself at the sound of the key turning in the lock. Wrenna and Algeberta were not alone. "Why are you here, Maisie?" "Crikey, I'm happy to see you too, Papa." "Sorry, the evening isn't playing out as I had expected it would. Everyone come and meet my guest." "In this state?" Wrenna shook her head. "Before anything else, we must freshen up." With Algeberta in tow, Wrenna ascended the stairs, promising to return in 2 shakes. Maisie followed her father into the parlor. "Miss Tacy Bronwell, this is Maisie, my younger daughter." They shook hands and sat at opposite ends of the settee. Semple noted that Tacy had recharged her sherry glass once more. He cleared his throat and pasted an expression of parental pride on his face. "Maisie manages translation services for a Rouen-based French literary agency. Pop, I was just promoted to an assistant directorship at the firm. That's one of the reasons I came over. I wanted to tell you the good news in person." Tacy's voice slurred. "No doubt your presence will make for a more convivial evening, Miss Semple." Coming to the parlor, Miss E.B. paled when she saw Maisie. Before the housekeeper complained, Semple motioned her into the dining room. "I regret springing this on you at the 11th hour, Miss E.B., but I need you to set yet another place for dinner. In addition to Wrenna and Algeberta, my other daughter, Maisie, will be in attendance. You think I make more food by snap fingers? Anyone hungry is your fault." Semple unbuttoned his collar and loosened his tie, chiding himself for dressing up in this heat. Joining Tacy and Maisie at the dining table, his heart sank at the sound of bottles being uncorked in the kitchen. Miss E.B. filled Tacy's glass despite Semple's attempt to wave her off. A gentle tide of small talk rose around the table. The barmaid had taken sole possession of a bottle of Merlot. The kitchen clock sounded the quarter hour, then the half hour. Semple asked Miss B to bring in the food without further delay. At last Algeberta and Wrenna came downstairs. Semple was in the process of introducing Tacy to the latecomers when Miss E.B. arrived with a covered tureen. She ladled out the mushroom soup with aplomb and tossed the salad like an artiste. The joint was carved with the precision of a butcher, and the feast was capped with a luscious blancmange. Wrenna and Maisie then decided to go for a walk, saying they wanted to catch up on one another's activities. Semple thought it best that he accompany Tacy home. They left Miss E.B. puttering in the kitchen, while Algeberta paged through magazines in the parlor. Semple supported Tacy by the arm as they headed for her neighborhood. After a while, the exercise dampened her alcoholic haze. "Peter, I have a hunch about your housekeeper. How can you, having seen so little of her? I've always had a sixth sense when it comes to divining a person's character. It helps me deal with difficult customers." Tacy's smile was crooked. "Sometime I will have to say what I make of you, Mr. Semple." They continued for a while in silence. "Miss E.B. wants something from you. It has to do with your novel." Semple decided to share the alterations made to his manuscript. He'd never caught Miss E.B. at it, but no one else could have been responsible for it. At the door, Tacy pecked Semple on the cheek. "One thing more, Peter. I fear that Miss E.B. might mean you harm. Please be careful." The dining room light was switched off, and Miss E.B. went upstairs. Closing the magazine that she'd been perusing, Algeberta reverted to her true self. With sword drawn, the noble woman followed her nemesis. Reaching the landing, advanced toward a room in the hall, from which light and a steady tapping emanated. She twisted the knob and eased open the door. To be continued.